Hello, YouTube, fellow modelers. Welcome to Eric's Model Garage. Before I get started today on what's on the bench, I just want to kind of take a moment here to introduce my channel and why I started the channel. This channel purpose of it is to talk about model kits, model trucks, semis, cars. I'm going to be probably covering some muscle cars, definitely muscle cars, a little bit of the racing category, um, classic factory stock cars, and just whatever comes down the way there. I'm going to try to share it with you. I thought about starting a YouTube channel for a while, but I wasn't sure. I had a couple people talk to me about it after showing some of my builds, and they're like, "Well, have you ever thought of starting a YouTube channel?" I'm like, "Well, really hadn't thought about it." And then the more it went on, I kind of, well, maybe I could start a YouTube channel and see what happens. Um, just wanted the opportunity to. This is a great hobby. It's a great community as far as I can tell, just from the videos that I've watched. A couple of the ones I'm subscribed to. So guys like Lucas C. and I can think of, and Matt there at Model Car Videos. I really enjoy his videos. So I thought I might kind of want to just contribute to some of the builds that I've done, and possibly some of the next builds that I get into, share it with you guys out there. So I hope this is beneficial to people. I hope maybe we can, obviously, all of us modelers, we all can learn from each other in some way, shape, or form. I mean, it's not a modeling, in my opinion, is not an exclusive secret. Anything that helps out to build a better kit down the road, um, if we can help each other out like that, let's go for it. This is my second official video, I guess you'd say. My first one was on the Peterbilt 359 conventional tractor by Revell. And I I don't have, I'm just using this off of my cell phone right now, getting started. So I don't have really any editing tools. And I did want to make a couple corrections on there, although I kind of corrected one of them in the video. I had mentioned that I had actually called it a 352, which is actually Peterbilt cabover. So I apologize for that little slip up. And I called the stars that were on the hood stripes at one point. So this is an official correction on that. So let's proceed. On the bench, we have the ever so famous, or maybe infamous, white freightliner cabover by AMT. Everybody's familiar with this, I think, and because why? The famous seam on the top, as you can see, before I knock it off the stand. That famous seam right there. This is actually a kit that I have had built. I probably built this probably 10 or 11 years ago. It's 2012 or 2013. I hadn't built a truck since I say, in high school or just out of high school. I'm 51 now, so that was been quite a good number of years ago. So was at Hobby Lobby at the time, and I seen this. I said, well, I've always loved cabovers. My dad, I grew up in the 70s. My dad was in the CB fad there in the late 70s. So I really got into some of the semi trucks, and my favorite actually ended up being cabovers. I've just always liked the looks of them. From what I hear, most of the drivers that have ever talked about them, they just weren't very comfortable to ride in, especially long hauls. But I always thought they was just a nice looking truck. So I figured I would get this and give it a whirl. Not probably the best thing for your first semi truck if you haven't built one in a while. So just go over it a little bit here. And I tell you, we all know about this seam on there because this has option. If any of you don't know, this has option to be a dual drive or a single drive truck. So they made a two-piece cab, and then they had the back half was separate. What I wish AMT would have done originally is make that a full cab with the sleeper, and then if you wanted to do the single drive option, then you could cut it off and add the back section. Because with this way, and I know they make the rivets, you can replace the rivets. I've not seen them yet, and I've never tried that. Didn't know anything about that when I built this kit. But the thing is, when you try to fill this in and smooth it all out, you end up losing the rivet detail. And that's always seems to be a problem there. But so I just built this one just the way it is. And it had sat on the shelf for, like I said, for about, I'll just spin it around here as I talk. It had been on the shelf for, I'd say probably 10 or 11 years. And I happened to look at it one day and like, well, the stacks, they're a little bit crooked and this is falling off, that's falling off. And so what I did is I got it down. I decided to, well, let me just straighten up the stacks and put back on a couple of the things that have come off of it. The problem was, for every one thing that I put back on, it seemed like two more things fell off. So I pretty much ended up rebuilding the truck except for the chassis. The only thing on the chassis I redid was the fenders, because these had gotten bent at one time and they actually broke off. So I actually got on YouTube and found, or eBay, I'm sorry, and found a set of fenders for it. So the fenders are new, actually, on there, and the grill. I ordered a new grill because the pin that works the pivot for the tilt in the cab had actually broke off, so I went with a new grill as well. And then I just I decided to weather this one up because of the seams there, and I just decided to go ahead and weather it up. And like you see right here, I've got where, oh, he's drug his foot across it, all the times, all the many hundreds of thousands of miles or more that he's driven. He's got a little bit of wear on the side. Rusted the frame up just a little bit lightly, nothing real bad. He's still driving this every day. And just a little grime around the door handles here, and where you might see where the diesel fuel spilled out there. He filled it over too full at one time or something, but just something to put. I just put it back together. I straightened the pipes up. The only thing I didn't do that I wish I would have when I had it apart was open up the stacks on the top. I didn't open the stacks up on there, so they're just flush on the top like they were from the kit. Fortunately, the only thing that I don't have, I couldn't reclaim, was the mirrors. So I'm trying to find me another set of mirrors and get the mirrors back on it and get that working again. So, but we can tilt the cab on it here. I'll spin him back around, and the cab tilts, works pretty nice. Now watch, now that I said that, it's going to act up on me. Nope, there she goes. And so the cab tilts forward nice and stays that way. And I'm going to knock the camera over. So but in my opinion, yeah, these old AMT truck kits, they're quirky. They definitely are. The instructions could have used a lot more work. But what I did, the best that I could, I tried to straighten up the ladders, because those are a problem on these kits. And most people, I'm probably preaching to the choir, because most of us that are in modeling know this. But the steps have always been an issue. Again, the seam. And what I did when I put this back together, because I ended up taking the interior out and everything and cleaning it up. What I did is I ended up sanding on the interior panel, the interior bucket. I ended up sanding all the way along the side, on the inside and across the back, until I got that, because every time I put it together, I had a major gap in there, even from when I had put it to the last time. So that closed the gap up. Obviously, you still see the seam, but it did close the gap up a good little bit in there. And then I weathered up the pipes just a little bit. Put a little bit of the carbon on top, like I had done on the Peterbilt. And this, of course, being the Cummins engine. And I'm learning about trucks as I build these, because I've just gotten back into the other trucks I have. I have a Kenworth, newer, I think it come out in 90, the newer style Aerodyne. Kenworth. I think it's a 600, I believe it is. Don't quote me on that. And then I have a Peterbilt, would be the 359 Wrecker. I've got that. And those two I built in high school. So it had been a long time since I built a truck. So, and I'm really learning about semi trucks as I go along. So I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. But that's what it's all about. We learn as we go. Like I said, I've mainly built cars and pickup trucks and stuff in my years of experience. But it's got the paint's not all shiny and flashy. Like I said, it's to depict a lot of miles on it. And we'll bring them around one more time. It's got the pogo stick there. Try to outline the white freightliner on the mud flaps there. And we'll close the cab back down. You got to watch that shifter gets in the way. There we go. And she sets back down pretty nice. So all in all, you know, patina's in. So I figure on real cars, people are liking it on the real stuff. So why not on the model kits? So that's kind of the feature today. And a little bit about how I got into models. Years ago, my dad had built some model cars, and he had quite a few when he was a kid. He had built, but some of them got passed, except for two. And I'm planning on a future video here, maybe not in the too far distant future, to do a feature on two of his survivor kits. He's got a 1940 Ford Coupe and a 36 Ford Coupe. So I'm going to do a feature on those, and we'll just take a look back at some 1950s, 1960s styling on there, and maybe how they were done back in the day. So this is my white Freightliner cabover with the Cummins engine, and I'm currently working on another cabover, and I think I'm going to pull this guy out of the road, and we'll bring the other cabover in that I'm working on. I got the chassis done on it, and the body's in primer. So let me move this guy out of the way. I'm going to disappear for just 1 second here. And I'll pull this guy in his place. Here we go. This is my next cabover project, which is, I would probably have to say, 3/4 of the way done. The Mack Cruise Liner. Again, it's an AMT kit, so it's got its quirks to it. But all in all, so far, this kit's gone together really nice. And I don't have the cab glued on yet to the grill, but that's got a nice almost 90-degree tilt there. Got the Maxidyne engine. I've weathered up the pipes. And on these tanks, I actually had that sprayed. It was I had used Rust-Oleum Bright Coat Chrome on it, and it had a couple little spots on it, and thought I would polish it out and thought I ruined them. But as I kept going, I really liked that finish on there. If you can see that, I'm going to take the cab off here because he'll come right off. But I don't know if you can see that finish on those tanks, how they came out. So they're not really bright. They're not going to be body color. More like a matte type finish. I filled all the seams in. And this one I've done up to, I've weathered the chassis just a little bit, like it's got some use on it, but still got a whole lot of good miles left in it yet. And the stacks are aluminum tubing. I just cut the old stacks off there flush with the tops of the shrouds. And then the inside of the cab, there's a little interesting thing, if you can see that. Might not be able to see. I'll get my light on here. But anyway, they're on the seat there. I don't know how well that's going to show up on the camera. Anyway, it's a box of the white Freightliner cabover I just showed you. And in there somewhere, I don't know if that's going to show up. He's got a can of Coke there in his, right there. Got a key. Stop for a can of Coke and a model kit, and then hit the road. There's the model kit of the white Freightliner. So that's the next cab over. That's what's in the works, and I'm going to go with the rider theme, just like the box had shown. I don't always do box art on my finished kits, but this is the, obviously you've probably seen this before, but I think I'm going to go with the rider badging on it. I just think that looks neat, and I've got some yellow paint already, so we're just going to throw it on there and see what we come up with. So I think that's probably going to cover today's video. I'm going to try to, if I can, I'm going to try to put a video out about once a week for now. And then as I get going and get acclimated and everything, I may step that up a little bit. But got plans for some videos. Another thing that I'm kind of into is the old vintage NASCAR, mainly late 70s, early mid 80s era. That was when I was watching races with my dad at home as a kid there. And I've still got a lot of my NASCAR kits that I built back when I was in school. So maybe I'll drag them out one of these days, and we'll just show those. So I plan on doing some reviews, and whatever comes down the way, a couple builds maybe, and we'll go from there and see where we go. But if you made it this far, thank you. I appreciate it. Like the video, subscribe if you can. I'd like to get rolling on this and just see how far we can go with it. So appreciate your time, appreciate you watching, and as I say, goodbye and happy modeling.